Hey everyone, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. And today we have Buffalo Dreams. This is a Disney Channel movie, as you could probably tell. What is this? Believe it or not, this movie is from 2005. It kind of looks like it was made in 1995. I don't know. It looks it has not aged well, and yeah. It's got a ton of different little hallmarks that most Disney Channel movies include. Um, some that were surprising to me. So, well, I shouldn't say surprising. It's surprising that they took so long to get to. Um, well, first, let me tell you what the movie's about before we get into all that. Buffalo Dreams is about a kid who moves to, I guess, Arizona or somewhere just in the middle of the desert where there's a lot of Navajo. Um, you know, there's a lot of Indians. Native Americans. There's a lot of Native Americans in the area. And by the way, that little slip I just made there, there are people who are very conscious to make sure they don't say the wrong thing, and then there's people who are outwardly racist. That they actually, you figure that maybe some of the characters might be like somewhat redeemable, but then they're basically, some of the kids are just jerks, and they call them chili pickers and stuff like that. They're not shy with the casual racism for some of these characters, which is weird for a Disney film. At least they usually make up some sort of weird racist comment or insult that sounds like it would be bad, but it really isn't. Doesn't exist in the real world. But in this case, yeah, they got. I mean, sure, I don't know if I've ever heard chili picker before, but it still sounds wrong. Anyway, so Josh moves with his parents. He has two parents in this movie, which is weird for a Disney film. But I'll get back to that. He has two parents. They moved to the middle of nowhere, and he's pining for his just cities and streets and everything else. Dad is moving there. This is totally inconsequential. He's a scientist, and he moves to this area to work with, I guess, satellites and other things like that. But yeah, he's a hardcore scientist, and of course the culture they move into is very spiritual, and Josh doesn't know what to believe. He just wants to ride his rickety old bike that got him around, I guess, where he used to live, but the roads were a bit rougher out here. But every turn he makes, he's getting disappointed. He gets to go work with his dad. The kid's, I think, barely 14, so he's going to work with his dad. I think he's just filing papers in a windowless room, just shuffling things around. He gets sick of that after just one day, and they say, "Hey, the old Native American lady in the town just goes, why don't you work out in the field with my grandson? He could always use some help." And he'd already run into the kid, and his grandson, I forget, it was his Thomas. I think it was Thomas Blackhorse. Thomas doesn't like him. He's taller than Josh, and he's very Native American, but he has rebuked his entire heritage. He just wants nothing to do with it, but he's doing what he's doing because he's helping out his grandparents by herding the buffalo, helping to keep the roads clear, the fields clean, and just getting everything organized so the buffalo have no problem getting around, or at least they don't escape their fenced-in area for fear that they would trample the town. This movie already sounds way too complicated than it seemed when I was watching it. Anyway, Josh gets pulled all sorts of different directions. He also meets a bunch of guys who also like riding bike, but their bikes are much more like BMX off-roading kind of thing. These are bicycles, not motorcycles. They're bicycles. So they just like tearing it up, and they don't get along with Thomas Blackhorse, and they don't care about Native American sacred lands. They don't care about anything else about the buffalo, especially one kid named Kyle. They don't care. They're just jerks. And but Josh wants to be accepted because everybody else is treating him like crap. So he decides, hey, I'm going to go ride my rickety bike with these guys and try to make some friends. And when they all want to go to just cool off after a day of biking, he suggests they go to this watering hole that he was introduced to by Thomas at one point when they were after work. And it's really a sacred land. It's nobody knows about it. It's just a great little, there's a waterfall, and it's just a little area that's hidden away from everything else. It's a little oasis in the middle of the desert. And of course, the guys that Josh wants to be friends with, who like biking, they just destroy it for the most part. They tag it with graffiti and just throw their garbage around. If a Native American just didn't just step out and start crying at that point, I wouldn't have been surprised. But it creates a conflict that requires Grandpa here to send them, both boys here, on a dream quest sort of thing. It's not a vision quest, but decides, like, even Josh's parents are like okay with it. Like, hey, you know what? These kids don't get along, and this old guy we just met just wants to send them out into the desert with nothing except what they have on their backs. And like, he literally dumps out their backpacks. The kid was going to take dim sum with him, you know. There's the other kid that Thomas was all set to have all this survival gear with them and be able to do whatever he needed to do, keep warm, just overnight, because he's done it before. But Grandpa strips him of all that crap and sends him out. They don't get along. They separate. I'm telling you way too much of this movie. Because, one, you probably shouldn't watch it. It's not good at all. But maybe you should watch it just to see the badness. I don't know. Either way, it takes a while to get to this point, but the dead parent role comes into play. And it turns out that Thomas here, he's the one whose parents died. So we got a double parent death in this one. Yeah. I mean, we got a fish out of water story. Ding. That's the first thing. Josh move into this new area. We got a visit to grandparents. Well, we don't visit grandparents. There's grandparents that are figured into it. So there's nobody visiting grandparents, but grandparents are a huge part of it. Also, there's biking becomes a wild, dangerous, extreme sport, which seems to also be a cliche that runs through the Disney movies. And, of course, at least one dead parent. So we have all these things. And I haven't even gotten to the mute girl, which there's a mute little girl that can hear. She's not deaf, but she's mute for a reason. And also they sing Lean on Me to the buffalo to calm them down and corral them. There's also a bad cliff jumping sequence where literally the kid is CGI. Oh, come on, don't trick me yet. He's a CGI in front of a screen. Well, no, he's not CGI, but he's standing in front of a green screen, and they make it look like he's jumping into the water. Oh, it's so bad. It's like the worst CGI I've seen in a long time. Josh's hair stays perfect no matter what condition he's in. Like, he's in the wilderness. It's pouring down rain. There's coyotes probably out there. Who knows? Perfect hair forever. Yeah. So, there's also a hippie surfer dude who's also friends with Thomas, who loves Native American Navajo traditions for some reason. He's like a bridge character, I guess, because it doesn't make Josh this weird anomaly by himself. It like, they converted another blonde kid into liking Navajo stuff. Anyway, I don't know what the most racist thing would be, is if it's the rude bike kids, or if it's just all of the tons of cultural cliches that are peppered throughout this. The guy in the middle here, you recognize him. He's been in a billion different things, and I think more than anything, he's probably has a good idea of what's offensive or not to his native people. He's an actor who's been in pretty much everything you've ever seen, and I'm sure more than once in Disney stuff. But I can't remember his name offhand, but he's like an icon character actor. He's They call him whenever they need a Native American to show up in anything. So, I think he would have a good idea. I think he would probably push back, hopefully, if there was anything truly offensive, that he was playing some sort of cartoonish version of a Native American. But, I don't know. This was a bit of a struggle to get through. So, I don't highly recommend it. But if you want to, see how cringeworthy a Native American fish out of water buffalo off-road biking movie can be, well, here's your shot. Buffalo Dreams on Disney Plus. All right, we're gonna pick tomorrow's. This has gone on long enough. I'm gonna pick tomorrow's number. What do we got here? 692. That seems like we've done that before. It's pretty far up there. I might have to do this again if I'm correct. 6. Nope, we haven't done it before, but it's a movie. But I think it's a Disney Channel movie. We got 692. The Wizards Return. Alex versus Alex. Again, I always get the sequels, never the originals, because apparently, if they're returning, that means they showed up once before. So I think it's the Wizards of Waverly Place or something like that, but we'll see. I'll check it out. If it's, you should check it out too, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. All right, on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. See you then. Bye.